Hello everybody. Today I would like to tell you about my deck that I played in the Odell League. This is the online Dutch old school league. And the most interesting thing about this month's event is that we played it without sideboard. As you can see, there is no sideboard. So this deck for me is the epitome of old school magic. This is something that can only happen in old school magic. This is what really old school magic is about for me. The degeneracy of this deck is really notable. It has some incredibly powerful cards, and it's only now that I have been able to build it because I've got all the duels that I have. And I would like to simply talk about it. First of all, I almost reached top 8. I just had the lower position in the standings. Didn't let me go to top 8, but there was quite a large attendance, so this was quite expectable. But then again, I didn't build it in the ultimate way, so I might revisit this deck in the future. But anyway, let's talk about the mana base. I still had a lot of fun. Also, it was just amazing to play this deck. It has an amazing feeling. And of course it could be perfected. Usually it would be played in 5 colors. So I'll tell you about my choices, about what I regret, what I don't regret, and still it was an amazing event. I'm really happy about playing it. So first of all, we do have all the duels that we can get. As you can see, it's a 3-color deck. We have got black, red, and blue. So of course there are 4 of each duels, as you might expect. We also have got 4 Cities of Brass. We definitely want to get 3 black mana as soon as possible, either with or without the help of Dark Ritual. Also, this deck works very well with Library of Alexandria, thanks to the number of draw 7 cards and also Howling Mines. And you know that library is very good by itself, so no doubt about that. Now, the more questionable part is the inclusion of basics. I always include a bit more lands than necessary in different old school sub-formats because I usually expect some land destruction, I might expect some disruption, so I decided to play it safe, and as you can see, I played 21 land. That's definitely too much for this deck. But again, my idea was that not always everything goes according to the plan, so, you know, I could have kept it at a much lower level. But then again, that's fine. So we've got the Lotus, of course, always a good thing to have, but in this deck especially. Then we've got, of course, the most important card, one of the most important cards, let's say that, is Howling Mine. So we want to have Howling Mine because we have got Underworld Dreams, obviously. So in addition to Howling Mine, we have got the draw 7 spells. This is a Time Twister. As I always say, Time Twister is a great piece of power, but it's not an auto-include for me. An auto-include is definitely Ancestral Recall. Number 2 would be Time Walk. For most decks I would include it, but with Time Twister you really have to think. And as you know, Time Twister is the only card that is legal in EDH. It's not that we, you know, care much about this format. Well, maybe you do, then I apologize, but I personally don't play any modern formats or anything. But still, we know that this is probably a good indicator of how powerful this card is compared to the other Power 9 cards. Maybe not that powerful. Then we have got Wheel of Fortune, again a draw 7 card. And if we continue talking about the combo cards, then we have also got Winds of Change. So Winds of Change is an interesting card, definitely not for every deck. You maybe know it from the Land's Edge deck, right? So tax edge, I mean land tax and Land's Edge. So if you get too many lands, you just cast this card and you draw some decent cards instead of just basics. So that's one of the great combos we've got there. But also most importantly here we have got, and yeah, let's just turn back here, we have got Underworld Dreams. So you might have seen my video where I talk about who this man is, and this is Dante, the Italian poet himself, and Julie Barrow also confirmed it on Facebook. So That's definitely him going into Dante's Inferno, if you wish. So what's absolutely amazing about this card is that it presents inevitability, right? It is inevitable that your opponent will get damage from it. Well, maybe during the upkeep they untap and cast Disenchant, but if they cannot, then life is not going to be easy for them. Enchantment is probably the most well protected card type, well, except for lands, but you do know that we have got a lot of land destruction. But still, it's very hard to deal with enchantment, and for many colors it is absolutely impossible. So as you know, black and red cannot deal with enchantments, and blue does it in a very awkward way with boomerangs perhaps. So that's why some decks use the disc, and of course we've got Chaos Orb, but in general it's very hard to deal with enchantment. So having 1 damage every turn just by itself is already quite good. But let's not forget that we have got Howling Mines, and we have got these amazing draw 7 cards. We've got also Winds of Change, and again, as I have said, Winds of Change can be used by you, even if you don't have Underworld Dreams on the table. You can simply get some extra, lands, some unnecessary cards with Howling Mine or maybe with Library. So I occasionally cast it, not always for the best, but still can be had. But the most important part is, of course, Underworld Dreams. And in addition to Underworld Dreams, we have got Black Vise. Black Vise is a rather frequent card in different deck lists, such as ATOG, maybe a couple more. I personally even played it in the White Weenie. It didn't have all the key pieces for White Weenie. So Black Vise is very nice. Yes, it's definitely difficult to deal with if you use draw 7 cards, but your opponent can very often get rid of the cards rather fast. So yeah, Black Vise, I would probably say that Underworld Dreams killed my opponents more frequently than Black Vise, but still. Okay, yes, so let's get back to mana base. I haven't finished talking about the mana base. So we have got all 3 Moxin, of course. So we've got the Jet, the Sapphire, as you can see, and the Ruby. And we have also got Sol Ring. So as you can see, again, we've got a ton of mana. We expect to, win fast, or at least pose our threats very fast. And if we don't do that, then we'll be in trouble. So Dark Ritual, I remember a game when I went turn 1 Swamp, Dark Ritual, Underworld Dreams, turn 2 Dark Ritual, Underworld Dreams. So you understand how painful it is, how difficult it is for your opponents to deal with it. So Ancestral Recall, except for being an amazing card, one of my, favorites in terms of everything. I absolutely love this card. I love the art. This is the card that I remember when I talk about my teenage, memories of Magic when I played it on Chandelar. I always remember Ancestral Recall. This is just the most powerful memory I have got of me playing old school Magic. And when I got this card, I was so, it was an unbelievable feeling of getting something that you had dreamt of. And you couldn't even dream of those cards. I remember reading a magazine when they described Magic the Gathering, and it was way, way before we even got Magic here in Russia. And they said something along the lines of, on the black market, or black market is actually the secondary market, but it literally said the black market like it's something illegal. So they said that on the black market you could get the Power 9, meaning the most powerful cards, for $1,000. And it was already then that I understood the potential of this game. And it was in year 1997. So I guess they were not talking about collector's edition. I guess they were talking about unlimited. So it gives you a good idea. But you already know that. So okay, anyway, Time Walk, was it a justified inclusion? Yes, certainly. Especially after draw 7, you can use Time Walk to make sure that you cast everything you need and make your opponent's turn as painful as possible. Then we have got Mind Twist. So Mind Twist is not really an auto-include for me. It's a very powerful card, we all know that. But you know, with all the fast mana that we have got, very often we can just Mind Twist our opponent for 5 or 6 even during turn 1. So that's of course super powerful, and it doesn't really matter whether you've got a good hand or not, but if you Mind Twist your opponent, yeah, it's practically game over very often. So yeah, one more reason for including Mind Twist was that we very often have some you know, powerful draw 7 spells that also give our opponent something good, so we might help them to get rid of the cards that they drew with Mind Twist. And yeah, what's better, Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister? Yeah, it's of course very hard to say. Yes, normally we would say Time Twister, but let's not forget that it gives our opponent some cards that they might have wanted, you know, in terms of recursion. So yeah, I don't really know. I think that for this deck, this doesn't really matter. We don't have, let's say, Swords to Plowshares, where we would say it's better to use Time Twister because our opponent's cards will be removed from the game. So next, this was a bit underwhelming. I didn't really have the matchups where this card was relevant, unfortunately, and it's the very first time I'm playing it. This is the Abyss. So the Abyss, the incredibly powerful card, as we all know, lets our opponent, well, doesn't really let our opponent do anything, but most important thing is that it kills one creature, one non-artifact creature, that is, during that turn, right? So we've got no creatures, so just -1 creature every turn for our opponent. I did face some decks with artifact creatures, it didn't work that well. But yeah, I guess I maybe killed a couple of creatures, so it was nice, but you know, not as powerful as it could have been. And I kind of regret including Mirror Universe, because Mirror Universe is such a powerful card, but you know, it very often just meant win more, and if I couldn't, then I just was dead anyway. So, you know, it never really came up. Even though we know it's a great card, there are many occasions in which you can use it, but yeah, sadly it wasn't the case, didn't really help that much. Okay, we have got, so now that is something that I don't always see in different lists. So first of all, I want to say that I did not net deck this one, right? I didn't even go for looking for different lists. I just try to remember what cards I need for it, and I just brewed it on my phone, you know, in Forge, a great app. In case you don't know about it, I must tell you about it soon in one of my future videos. So anyway, my personal decision was to include counter magic, and I wasn't wrong. So there were many occasions on which inclusion of counter magic helped me. And once again, as I have said, it's important to note that in this particular format we had a special event without sideboard. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to go for a deck that has some, you know, powerful combo, because it's more difficult to be you know, expecting some combo decks and shutting them down. Of course, this usually meant that people played some sideboard cards in the main board, but still. So yes, having 3 counter spells, basically, yeah, Mana Drain, it was Swedish, so Mana Drain was even better. But, you know, this was a good idea. It saved me a couple of times. Yeah. So then we have got Demonic Tutor. Of course, I will very often tutor for the card that we need in our combo. That is, of course, the Underworld Dreams, but it could also be something else. It could be a Time Walk, it could be, of course, an Ancestral Recall. So it was quite versatile, of course. And we had 3 Lightning Bolts, no room for 4, and probably it was the correct decision. Yeah, bolts were, of course, very important for removal, just finishing our opponent if needed. And of course there was a Fireball as the ultimate finisher if necessary. And yeah, I forgot to mention that, of course, Ancestral Recall is not only, yeah, I just started talking about how I love Ancestral Recall, but I forgot to say that in this deck, Ancestral Recall means a Lightning Bolt, at least, or maybe it means 2 Lightning Bolts if you have got 2 Underworld Dreams. And this was one of the weapons that I used in one of the games to just deal, I think 6, not even 3 damage with 2 Underworld Dreams on the table. So very nice. Anyway, let's take a look at the whole deck once again. Here it is. I want to say that my record wasn't perfect because, well, as you understand, this is a combo deck. It does depend on luck, and matchups are also about luck or not having any luck. But then again, it was very powerful, and although is really not a tournament where I would usually bring such a deck, I believe that this is one of the decks that is more suitable for, you know, just those events where you just go all in with power and such. But it's not to say that the usual metagame is weak. I mean that people like to be more creative, and this is not really a creative deck, to be honest with you. But again, as I have said, this is the epitome of old school Magic for me personally, because it has all the powerful combo, it has all the fast mana, it has all the power cards, it has this combo that normally shouldn't exist, you know, so many banned and restricted cards here, and it's absolutely amazing to play this deck. And I know that it can be very frustrating to play against this deck. So, well, you know, as a final verdict, I'm saying that yes, I enjoyed playing it. I will definitely revisit it in the usual 75 card environment, and probably with some different colors, better decisions, and then I will also make a video and report about it. Meanwhile, thank you for watching. I will see you around. Bye.